So, welcome to Series 2, Episode 11 of the Hidden London Hangouts. Thank you so much for your amazing feedback on last week's episode. We love doing it. You seem to love watching it. And we've had an amazing amount of feedback, and we'll be reading through some of those in a few minutes' time. Today on the Hangout, we're going to go somewhere that I've never been to. I've always wanted to go. The girls and Chris have been several times, and they're going to show us some stupendous stuff today. There's just too much excitement to come, okay? So stick with it. No Chris this week. So instead, we've got the gorgeous Siddy Holloway. Hello.
Hello, lovely to be with you. I mean, last week was such a fun episode, and so hopefully we can keep the train, or shall I say tram, rolling.
There's a big old clue, isn't there? And I have to say what's really cool is that Siddy is hunkering down in Iceland at the moment, where she comes from, just while this ridiculous COVIDity is going on. And also Laura Hilton-Brown. Hello, darling.
Hello and welcome everyone. I cannot believe that it's episode 11. Can you guys? How crazy is that? I feel like we're steaming through the weeks here. And it's a pretty grey autumnal day. And I'm thinking that I'm excited about where we're going today.
It's amazing. And I just wanted to start off with this message from Jennifer, one of our viewers. She says, the stories and photos are just wonderful, but the chemistry between you guys is magic. It was a great day today, and the Hidden London Hangouts made it better. We've got fans, Siddy.
Thank you so much, Jennifer.
We're loving it. We're absolutely loving it. So thank you. We've got loads more of those to read out as we go through the Hangout today, but we just want to press on because this is a place which is incredible. It's not a tube station. It's similar, but it's not a tube station. It's right in the centre of London. It's got a phenomenal story, and it's the Kingsway tram tunnel. Before the days of the tube, trams ran all over London, and some of them were run by horses. Some of them eventually were run by electricity. But this is a phenomenal part of the town, and the guys have been granted special access to get down there to show you what is there now. It's so phenomenal. So, Siddy, first of all, Kingsway tram tunnel, it's underneath Kingsway, right by Holborn Station. Just describe the location for us.
Yeah, so Kingsway Tram Tunnel was something that was built by the London County Council at the turn of the century. It was a part of this big regeneration of that entire area that we now know as Kingsway and Aldwych. And it was all kind of built to swipe away this slum area that was there before. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the tram tunnel itself was essentially built to connect all of the trams running north of the River Thames and south of the River Thames. So you had sort of a junction in the middle where you could interchange, and basically it improved the tram services north and south of the river enormously, and it continued to be an incredibly important part of that infrastructure up until the 1950s. So it was a really, really important part of London's transport infrastructure.
I love this. I absolutely love it. And of course, the thing is, when you go down these places, I get incredibly excited to be in new places. Laura does as well. Laura, when you first went down there, how did you feel when you got inside that tram tunnel?
Well, this is a kind of crazy place, isn't it? Because it's from like slum to subway. And you said before, Alex, yourself, that it's, it's different. It's not a tube, underground platform or tunnel. It's a tramway tunnel, and it's really unique and it's really rare. And for me, it looks and it feels different. So you can hear the vehicles overhead. Normally when you're in a deep level bunker or you're at a tube platform, it's the trains and the people. Whereas here you hear kind of vehicles, whizzing past overhead, because it's a really kind of central and busy part of town. And it looks different. It's kind of a square, rectangular, boxy shape. And there's different kind of heights and widths and depths as you go in. So it's a different one for us. And I think for that reason, it just makes it, even that more rare.
I love this. And as I say, when you start seeing the photographs we're going to show you today, you can't help but be enthused and excited by it, because it is a little bit of London history, and we're going to go down there today. So first of all, Siddy, take us back to the 1860s, when London, especially in that area around Covent Garden and Kingsway, Aldwych, it was grim, wasn't it?
Certainly was, and it's something that we never really think about as Londoners today. But all of that area had been, since the 18th century, just slowly demising into this kind of horrible slum of its worst kind. I mean, it was said that if you walked through those slums I mean, as late as the middle of the 19th century, unarmed, you would most certainly be attacked and robbed, or even worse. So it was one of those parts of town that people wouldn't even venture into. So to think of that in contrast to Kingsway and Holborn and those areas today, you know, the London School of Economics is right there and all of that, it's just kind of wild to us to imagine. But let me take you back with a little bit of City Slideshow Return.
Yay, it's back! City Slideshow's back. Great stuff. Let's have a look at some photographs, and I love this. Yeah.
So as you said, Alex, trams came way before the tube. Well, actually, before the tube came to London. And as you can see, it's right there, a horse drawing an LCC tram. Isn't that fascinating?
It's lovely. And I'm looking at the little destinations as well. Canal Bridge, Old Kent Road, Rotherhithe. Is it Weymouth Road? I don't even know where that is. But look at it. It's just so cool. LCC, yeah. Little horse, the nag.
Yeah, so the first few, so the first horse-drawn tram was introduced in 1861, but by sort of 1868, they started to kind of multiply, and soon after that, they had over 3 tram companies around London, kind of jotting all over the place, because this was, of course, brand new way of transport, a lot more efficient than the horse-drawn buses that were there at the time, because, of course, when you've got the vehicles on rails, it means that they're not, you know, kind of bumping up and down on the cobbled streets, and they're a lot more efficient and a lot easier on the horses to pull. So they were a more efficient mode of transport. So this is one of those early horse-drawn trams that we saw around London. And then really around sort of 1890 or so, the LCC, or the London County Council, as we can see just there on the vehicle, they started buying up these different tram companies and uniting them underneath the LCC, because they saw it as an opportunity to kind of offer cheap and reliable transport, particularly for labourers. And so they thought it was kind of people's right to have, you know, proper public transport around the city. So the trams actually have a really kind of important legacy in London. And this is, of course, way before the tube, actually, or around the same time as the tube was being introduced in London. So it was a real precursor to that.
Wow.
And I just love that photo, because I love that girl with it that we see right there.
With the big hat.
Yeah, and just having a little look out. It's a fantastic photo. But if we go back to speaking about that slum that I told you about earlier, around that same time, this is the area. So this is a part of that slum that was all cleared away in 1898 to 1905 to create what we now know as Kingsway and Aldwych. So this would have been right around the area where the London School of Economics is today. And as I said before,
God, I was just going to say, look at it though. It looks so grimy, doesn't it?
It looks, yeah, really grimy, but also kind of, I mean, charming and also lopsided.
Dickensian. Yeah,
exactly.
Totally.
I think that one's leading sort of down towards Lincoln's Inn Fields, but I'm not entirely sure. But this is the type of what the area looked like at the time. You know, as I said, it was incredibly dangerous. It was teeming with criminals. You know, it was really dirty and really horrible. And of course, the LCC really wanted to kind of spruce it all up. They wanted to create these wide, beautiful boulevards with, you know, trees and big office buildings, and create kind of a new centre just outside the city of London, which would be kind of a new emblem of its
progress, wasn't it, as well, Sids? Because, you know, when you think about it, I don't know, what is the building that's at the bottom of Aldwych? Anybody? The BBC was there.
Yeah.
And the purpose of putting the BBC there was to give people an indication that you could aspire to be better educated. And they put it right in the middle of slumlands, you know? And when you look at Holborn Kingsway, it is the straightest road. It had purpose. There was no secret corners where hoodlums and ne'er-do-wells could hide. It was straight and direct and broad and boulevard, very French in many ways. That was the whole area.
Yeah, and do you know what? They actually came up with a few ideas for what Kingsway should be called. And one of my favourite ones, which I'll just swipe over for us to watch, see Kingsway, and this is shot from Bush House. One of them was Empire Avenue, which I think would have been...
Look, Laura, just down there, Laura, look at that right in the middle. You can see the entrance to the tramway.
I know, that's so lovely, isn't it? And not something I've actually seen before. So this is incredible. It's such a great image, Sid. That's really lovely. And Empire Avenue is like, it's very, like, that's a bold name.
Show me more,
Sid.
Like, show me more.
Name.
Yeah. So as we said, the Kingsway the Kingsway construction started around 1898, and Kingsway, the street, opened in 1905, but the tram tunnel, which was built underneath the road at the same time as the road was being constructed, opened a year later in 1906. And so that's how you kind of went down underneath it.
And look at the old bus, the old omnibus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful. Actually, Siddy, those lamps, those very intricate lamps left and right of the entrance, are they still there?
They are. You're very eagle-eyed. There's actually, there are 3 of them, and we might spot them later on in some of our contemporary shots. But the lamps have LCC kind of, in metal on them. There are 2 at the entrance and 1 sort of right there. You can see at the back there. That one at the back is still an original today. Those 2 have been replaced. But as you can see, they built the tunnel just to be a single decker kind of structure, so you could only get single decker trams in there. But later on, they changed that. So this was the entrance into Kingsway Tram Tunnel, and the exit was just underneath or just by Waterloo Bridge. But that exit didn't actually open until 1908. Because there was some disputes about where on the embankment the tram roads would sort of go, and where exactly that link between the north and the south of London would be kind of provided. So it took them a little while to figure that out. And later on in 1908, that was the opening. So that's just, next to Waterloo Bridge, you can see Lancaster Place just there by it.
And just to sort of add all these bits of story up, these were tramways that ran from North London to South London. There was effectively, you could go from Archway in the north to Putney in the south, going through Kingsway. And where Siddy's just found that brilliant photograph is literally spilling out effectively onto the side of the River Thames. They would go left and right along the embankment, and the turning circle was huge, as I'm sure you've seen on previous episodes of the Hidden London Hangouts with Chris, actually, when we went down there. Huge turning circles for these trams, and they would go in there and then pop out again by Holborn Tube Station after a pretty long tunnel. I mean, all of this central London geography is fascinating me, really, and it's to think where that is now. And I think the actual tunnel mouth, Chris was telling me, is now underneath Waterloo Bridge, and it's a club.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, it's I think it's called Proud Cabaret or something. Yeah. So maybe somewhere we need to go once lockdown is easy.
That'd be rather nice.
Do some research.
I think I've been there.
Have you?
Yes, I've totally been there.
Did you go there by tram?
I wish I had. That would have been like a great entrance and exit, wouldn't it? But no, but I have been there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
So our next photo is when they decided to enlarge the tunnel. So you saw in that previous photo, they had just like a kind of oval shape to it. Well, they raised it in 1929 and kind of deepened the tunnel so it could take double-decker trams, because of course that was a lot more efficient than just using the single-decker ones. And I really love this photo because you can see that lamppost you were just referring to,
yes.
And you can see the back of Sicilian Avenue just there, you know, those beautiful buildings that are just there still today. So if I do this as well, so see there, that's from 1937, and that's when the tunnel mouth is being rerouted underneath Waterloo Bridge as it was being constructed. Through Proud.
Through Proud.
Going through the cabaret.
Isn't that amazing? But as you say, by doubling the number of decks on the trams, I guess it made it cost effective rather than a loss-making product.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it was always subsidized because it was owned by the LCC. So, you know, it was always quite a fairly cheap way to travel. But I think, you know, it was a lot more efficient. And as well, you know, if you had a full tram, you weren't making any money because people were presumably using these for long distances. And so, you know, you wanted to increase your revenue. And I really love this photo because it really shows you how where it was located. Of course, that's all bricked up today.
Yep.
So that's what it looks like today and when we went to visit.
And this takes us on very nice and neatly, doesn't it, Sid? Because I mean, I can see the white brick, which always fascinates me. I always think it looks a bit like municipal toilets, doesn't it, really, when you see the white bricks. But I also love the fact that you've got your little roundel insert there with the Kingsway on it. But this was another location that I didn't get the invitation to go to. So the three of them decided to trot off into the murk and have a bit of fun, didn't you?
Yep, let's have a look at that. I want you in it. So another day, another tunnel, guys. How are you feeling?
This is good. It's a nice autumnal day. We haven't been here for a while, so I'm hoping this is a good one.
Yeah.
It's the usual thing. It's a lovely day above ground. Let's go into a darkened hole.
And just to give you guys an idea of where we are, it's Kingsway.
I love that. I get so excited when these guys are just sort of traipsing around places. It's so cool. I love being part of this, honestly. We hope you're enjoying this hangout today. Laura, when you were down there, the great thing about this location, as we're going to see very shortly, is there are still vestiges of London transport down there, aren't there? Although it's quite a stripped back area, there's still quite a lot of evidence that this was a pretty major transport hub.
Absolutely, and I think it's really stripped back when you're down there, but you can still see a lot of the witness marks on the walls. I mean, you've got the longest stretch of remaining old tramway in London in this section, so that's pretty phenomenal that you're in this area and that exists under your feet. And I guess Chris and Siddy would agree, I hope they do, that there's something a little bit cave-like about this particular tunnel, sorry. I know, so many words, can't get them out quick enough. In that, you know, as I said before, you can feel, you can hear the vehicles above. It's really, really dark, so if you don't have the lights on, you don't have your torches with you, it's super, super dark. It's quite echoey as well, which obviously meant when Chris and Siddy were shooting like footage for the virtual tour, I was often doing my little hiding behind corners trying to be super quiet. So it's echoey, it's dark, and there's quite a lot of water drippings, quite a lot of water underfoot, so it has got this kind of cave-like feel to it as well, which I think just helps you take yourself, like do that step back and immerse yourself in the story that used to exist there. So I particularly like this site visit. It was really good fun.
I love it. And when you start looking at the history of this place, and almost the demise of the Kingsway tram tunnel, because the tube and buses became so much more plentiful, car ownership became greater, there were taxis in London, people were walking around more. Over time, it just got to the point where the tram tunnel just wasn't needed anymore. So then they decided to use it as storage. And just before Queen's coronation, they decided that they were going to store loads of buses down there in case they needed them for the coronation. And you think there's just there's more and more levels of history which are created. Enough about me talking. Siddy, slideshow too. We need more Siddy slideshow. Show me more pictures.
All right, let's give it a go. Again, there we were stood right at the entrance of Kingsway, about to head into the cave, so to speak, as Laura mentioned. One of the really lovely things that you can see just to the side there are those bricks that you were saying earlier, Chris, Alex, which do remind you a bit of a public toilet, I guess. Yeah. But, you know, that's what was very durable and kind of, you know, nice to look at the time, even though it's deteriorated a little bit. So as you walk in, this is kind of what you see. So wow. Right there where that light is kind of where you walk in. It's amazing also that the track is still there. You know, this tunnel was actually used quite significantly during the construction of Crossrail, because they had to actually build a giant hole in the middle of the tunnel to use as like a grouting point for the tunneling that was going on underneath.
They were basically pumping stuff into the ground, were they, from here?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was a 5 meter deep and a 3 meter wide kind of hole that they were just making sure that there was no subsidence in the ground. But this tunnel is actually owned today by Camden Council. And because it's grade 2 listed as of 1998, they were Crossrail were given permission to kind of dig around in there only if they promised to leave it exactly as it was, with all of the tracks and everything still in place. So they've done a very good job, actually. You can't really tell when you go down there where they were digging before. You know, you can't really imagine a giant hole in the middle of that.
But it looks, you know, I mean, we always love, don't we, circular tube tunnels on the Hidden London Hangouts. We love something that's got a bit of circularity, but that is so metric and square. But as you said, Laura, this is, look at the tracks. It's just, it runs and runs and runs, and all this track's still there, Laura.
It is, and we did some stuff.
All right, okay.
Let's have a look at some of the stuff we
did.
So here you have the old platform of the actual tunnel. So one of the most amazing things that I think, you can really put yourself there, and you see that staircase just there. I'll show you better in a minute. That's where people would enter and exit from the tram tunnel. And you know, it's funny because through those stairs, and there are little like tiny grills that still lead up that, you know, ventilate the area. It means that sometimes when you go down there, you're met with loads of leaves and actually like sometimes litter and stuff that's kind of fallen through. And a few years ago on a site visit, when I went with Chris and we were sort of scoping the site out, we were walking and I looked down and I found a £20 note.
Yay!
And I've never been so happy in my life. It was
Who loses £20 notes? Who can lose that sort of money?
I know. And Chris was like, well, what are you gonna do with that? I was like, well, I guess I'll buy you a drink.
I was going to say spend it on booze.
But it was one of those times I was like, I never find anything, and to find it in an underground structure that's been closed since 1953 was just a total kind of cherry on top of the sundae. But I wanted to show you this because this is the platform area, and if I just swipe, you see what it looked like.
Oh, look at that. That is absolutely the golden shot. And there you go. Look, the 31 went to Wandsworth.
Yeah. So you see that?
Oh, look at that.
And that later on got replaced by a bus service number 170, which goes
then and now shots that we.
Isn't it great? And I love the fact that even though it was trams, not tube, you can still feel that similarity in style down there with the tile work and the uniformity. It's a bit like a Charles Holden station, isn't it? Very square and utilitarian and orderly and formal.
Yeah, even though the posters on the wall there, you know, you could see that you know, they kind of have a Charles Holden feel to them, don't they? And of course, Johnston's being used there because this shot's taken after 1933, when all of the trams were taken over by the London Passenger Transport Board. So it's kind of finally there, starting to get some of those corporate identities that we so know and love. So I just love this shot. I think it's so beautiful, and I love this guy just sitting there with his hat, waiting for a tram that he's going to get.
It's lovely.
I know.
And when you're down there, particularly, I mean, Laura's very good at kind of empathizing in these situations. Laura, when you're down there, can you visualize what it would have been like to be working, or has it all been stripped out now?
Yeah, well, it has been stripped out, and I mean, this photo, the one that Siddy's just done, the kind of then and now, is actually one of the kind of a really, really phenomenal shot, because here you've got the kind of, you know, those central pillars going down the middle, you've got the kind of dual platform, you've got the trams coming in and out, and when you're down there, it's a lovely, like you said, metric, symmetrical, kind of rectangle, square, boxy tunnel. And you have got some of the tiles still on the wall. I mean, it's been used in its kind of latter years for filming. There's been a number of films down there. There's been Hidden City, Bawani Junction, The Escapist. It was even used in the film version of The Avengers. So it's had quite a kind of modern, there's been a bit of a modern twist on it. But I think when you're down there, because I'm so used to kind of the either bunker shelters or the tube platforms, I find it easier to visualize that. So for me, seeing this picture here is absolutely like gold dust, because now I can really put in place what I could see when I was down at Kingsway, and I'm glad I did it this way round as well, rather than the other way. So yeah, it's actually really great. Yeah,
nice one, sis.
It's and then this is one of the entrances, you know, so the one I just zoomed in earlier where it says LCC tramway entrance, so that would have been one of those entrances just there, and that's also where all the leaves and the £20 notes flow in.
It's like a bank.
It's the Kingsway Bank Tunnel.
It's a global exchange, Travelex down there in Holborn.
But you know, it's so nice because it brings this kind of light into it. You might be able to see on the right hand side a bit of sort of stuff because it's owned by Camden Council. They actually store a lot of things down there, you know, anything that's to do with, you know, repairing the roads, or, you know, there are like big old actual like street lamps and stuff in there sometimes, which you know, you never really know what you're going to find every time you visit because Amazing. They use it as a bit of a storage space. So then here we see a little bit of the track still in place. So that is heading southbound, just where that tram was before, number 31, heading sort of down towards the embankment. And the reason I chose this shot is because I wanted to contrast it with this one, which is shot in about exactly the same place, but that is bomb damage from the Second World War during the Blitz. So Kingsway got hit, thankfully, of course, because it was, you know, just subsurface. No one was sheltering down there or anything like that, although I'd imagine it stopped tram services for quite some time. Now, just to talk about what happens there in the dark just there, we actually shot a little bit of a video that just to show you how dark it is down there. And also to explain a little bit why there's only one entry point into Kingsway, because that part of the site that you see right there down in the darkness, if you walk far enough down, you'll actually meet kind of a sloping wall down, and that's because the southern part of the tunnel was taken over in 1964 to become the motor tunnel that you enter in from Waterloo Bridge and go in and down under, and you come up on Kingsway. So you're actually, when you drive that part, you're actually going into Kingsway Tram Tunnel in a sense, even though it is a motor tunnel. So at one point when you walk down into that darkness, as we're about to show you, you just hear the cars getting louder and louder. As there's basically a huge motorway on top of us. So let's have a little look at that video.
Right. Okay, so we are now inside Kingsway Tram Tunnel, as you can see, and even though we are a little bit lit up, it is incredibly dark in here.
As proved.
Dim the lights, Chris. Raise the lights.
But it's a very unique place, and just it's completely unique to London, I believe to the entirety of the United Kingdom. So what do you reckon, Laura?
Yeah, so I was chatting to some of my friends about this, and they did say, is it not just a kind of square or rectangle tunnel underground? Well, in theory, yes it is. You can kind of see behind us there. But there's a lot of substance to this venue, and there's a lot of layers, and I'm hoping that in this hangout we're all going to be able to unpick those, because as far as I'm aware, it's really synonymous with that kind of regeneration of this area back in the early 1800s. I'm not very good with dates.
1900s. 18th century.
There we go,
19th
there we go.
Century.
Help me out there, guys.
And it's got bank
19th century,
atmosphere, hasn't it?
It has, it really has.
Feels like it could use some bats, maybe.
Yeah, a little bit cave-like,
It's also, like, it's so dark. If I try to do this, you can't really see anything back behind me, but there is a lot of tunnel there. Chris, can you light a little bit up? Yeah, you can't really see much. So yeah, we'll try to unpick that for you guys in the hangout.
This is the kind of space we're going to hang out in on a Monday. Where else would you be?
Exactly.
I'm so envious now of where you guys have been. Honestly, every time I've got to make sure I'm on all of these trips because this is just driving me mad. I want to be there. I know what's coming next, and there is one particular picture that is going to make me probably squeal because it is so good. If you think about all of us having a little roundel, you're going to love what you're about to see. Siddy, spoil us with slideshow part 3.
Okay, let's go. And there we go, guys. Isn't that amazing?
That is it. Oh, God, I love that. And I love as well the tiles, because they've got like an iridescence.
Yeah, so they're actually glazed bricks. They're not tiles, they're glazed bricks. So they're a little bit more durable, but isn't it beautiful that that's what they chose, to actually have down there, and they've survived for all this time.
And on that roundel, presumably it would have said Kingsway.
Yeah, it would have said, I think Kingsway and something like 4 Holborn, maybe.
Yeah.
Or Kingsway Tram Tunnel. We'll have to investigate that. Maybe some of our viewers will know and kind of send us a little note about it now.
Flip into
but
DMs.
I love that little shadow of it. Just, you know, a hint. And then we found another roundel down there, which doesn't quite belong. And I think, Laura, that might have been from one of the films you were talking about.
It is, and I think it's been there for quite some time as well, hasn't it? Because I think that was on a site visit that we went on quite a while ago, and it still remains there now. And it's just all these little nods of, you know, the previous picture, a lovely nod towards the kind of original roundel and that lovely kind of rich history. And then you've got this kind of lovely nod towards the more modern and contemporary use of the venue, where you've got a roundel that's been converted into something for, you know, for a film or TV. And I love that these things just coexist so kind of, you know, succinctly down there. And I love finding those little pockets of then and nows. It's really good fun.
Yeah,
you know, one of the things I was just going to say, one of the things I notice about this as well, I don't know whether you find this, but I get this slight squeaky bum time every time I look at these pictures and think, are there any swear words in the graffiti? Is there anything there that shouldn't be there? So quick, read. No, there's nothing there. It's all right.
No, it's the things that people draw, isn't it, Sid? There's just like such obscene things that people think are nice to draw in the dust, and you're like, why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
Why would you deface this beautiful old rectangle? I think, I mean, it's quite interesting because there's been a legacy of some filming down there. Right after the tram tunnel closed in 1953, there was a petition, or there was a filming company that actually asked to take it over to convert it into a film studio. Can you imagine a film studio in the centre of London in a, you know, an underground facility?
Nice.
Understandably, it was denied on the grounds of it being far too dangerous in terms of fire hazards. So they never got that one through. But it's interesting how it's kind of kept as a bit of a, you know, as a bit of a storage and kind of a place for that for all these years. So, and some other people have done some filming down there recently that, you know, there have been some films, but most importantly, the Hidden London Hangouts and the Hidden London virtual tours have been filmed down there. So if you want to see what we do when we create that this kind of content, here you go.
Oh, so she's not trying any shenanigans. We can see you. We can see you. Oh, we're just trying to hide. We thought you were trying to scare us. We thought you were waiting to jump out from a corner somewhere. I'm filming you. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. No. I was mostly just scared. Say hi. I'm just.
Oh, as if I would.
It's too dark.
It's like checking every
the epic replay.
Right
then. So we're going to do one more walkthrough and just do it on a different setting. Quite dark.
You want to do the whole way again?
Yeah.
And you doing it back again or just that
No,
way?
just down.
Okay, just so I know.
Can I be weirdly creepily behind you and try to get some stills?
Sure.
You might hear the shutter though. I'm still filming you, by the way. So this is what goes on behind the scenes of the glam. Mostly just waiting.
Right.
This is the gadget that Chris Nix uses to capture the magic.
That is a bit Blair Witch.
I've gone with the Lord of the Whisper.
I like it. I like it. It's hard not to when everything around you is quiet.
Right, and it's also because you can hear the sound of the cars coming over the top of you down there. Oof, quite spooky.
Yeah, that is creepy.
So there you go. That was that lovely time lapse. You are a tram just for a minute there, going quite fast actually through the Kingsway Tram Tunnel, it has to be said, but that's pretty cool. Guys, thank you. I mean, I know we've not got Chris today, but I think we've handled this manfully, haven't we?
I think so.
Good
you know,
work.
he is, you know, he had a present. He was there with us in the videos. So, you know, we miss our Chris. Of course, we want to have him with us. So it's important to have his aura and wisdom with us when he's not there in the studio. So I think we've done all right.
He's never far away, girls. You've done brilliantly. We've had loads and loads of notes, queries and questions coming in. More, actually, just lovely feedback. Mark messaged us and said, after last week, when you told us about who Inspector Sands was, do you remember Inspector Sands? There's an emergency in the station, just needs to make sure that everything's okay. Reason it was called Sands was because sand was the bucket of sand that you fight a fire with. He just said, is Inspector Sands in a civil partnership with Private Rod?
Oh, good one. I believe so.
That's interesting, isn't it? I'd never thought about that. Guy on Facebook says, thank you so much. These Hangout videos really cheer me up and give me something to wait for every Saturday evening. I hope there's going to be a third series. Cheers from Israel. Good
Wow.
one. Good one. This is really cool. Yeah, of course.
Hello, Israel.
Yeah, there's loads of stuff. We had the meeting about what we're going to do for the next 6 weeks earlier in the week. Trust me, we've got months and months of amazing stuff to talk about. Nathaniel Hay on Facebook. This is definitely something I look forward to each week. Love all of you guys and girls. Thank you for telling us what the letters on the tiles meant. It was driving me potty. Keep up the great work. Hope there's more to come. Remember the general, station and foreign tile locations that we saw last week? That's what we found out. Series 1, one of you lovely viewers explained to us what all that was all about. And as I say, Jack Pearson says, I can't wait until we can get out. But in the meantime, I'm loving watching and rewatching some of these episodes. And Tony Louise Dillon on Facebook, she says, great episode, by the way. Will there be any plans in the future to do Hidden London Hangouts at York Road or South Kentish Town, both of which have beautiful Leslie Green buildings, or even British Museum? Siddy, it's almost as if she was sitting in the meeting with us, wasn't it?
I know. There is certainly plans to do some hangouts on, I mean, all three really, but we'll probably have to wait for some of those until season 3, because we've already come up with a brilliant program that's going to take us into the new year. So do stay tuned. You know, we've got so much stuff going on. We've got the hangouts. We're planning out a Hidden London pub quiz at the moment that we're going to go do through Zoom. So there should be plenty to keep everyone entertained. But yes, I'm dying to go and kind of delve deep into York Road and South Kentish Town. So great suggestions. Can't wait.
Laura's up for it too. Jeff says, how about a Hidden London hangout to Bull and Bush, the station where your ears pop and walk down because of the pressure change. It's so remarkable. When the trains come through on the Northern Line near Hampstead, you just feel this pop and your ears go because of the very unique way that the station is built. It's remarkable. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get a look around there as well. And actually, one of the things that we were talking about, because in the run up to Christmas, it's going to be a stupendous episode of the Hidden London Hangouts. And we're hoping to get you involved in this as well, where we have a bit of a Christmas party. And we're going to be at the museum, at the Transport Museum for that. And there's some amazing Christmas things that you can buy at the Transport Museum. There's a new set of socks out. Ian, one of our other viewers, has just bought the box of socks. He's loving them. But girls, I know you're both fans of Moquette, and I know it's been a really rubbish year this year. So I decided to treat myself to something rather unique. Would you like me to do a show and tell?
Oh,
absolutely.
Yes.
Right. So you know what Moquette is. It's the fabric that they cover the seats with. Okay, this one is Shroud. Okay, very much in use in the 1960s on tube trains. This one is District, or Misha Black as it's nicknamed. This is very much a 1970s Moquette. And also, calm yourself, Law. Just calm yourself, darling, because you might recognise this.
There it is.
This is Barman. You're loving it. It's Barman, and it's all over the tube now. So imagine if my rucksack had worn out, and I decided I was going to turn my rucksack. And look, can we just have a look at Siddy's face at this point? Show us your face, Siddy. Watch.
No.
Here we go, kids. This is my new rucksack. And look, it's got a Barman flap at the top. It's got 2 Misha Black flaps. And there is at the bottom my Straub mobile phone holder. And this, I sent off the bits to Poland. These amazing people. All the pictures are on my Instagram, by the way. They have done such a good job. So my Christmas present to myself is I think I'm truly a London ambassador now. I've got a moquette rucksack. What do you reckon, Law?
I cannot imagine anybody wandering around London and suiting it as much as you, Mr. Grundon. I think that is phenomenal. That is you to a T. I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
You're like Anorak in chief with that one, for sure.
Honestly, I'm so chuffed with it. I'm so chuffed. And
I think you need to put it on and give us a little bit of a twirl.
Which, you know, I might do. I might do this when Chris is back. I'm sure Chris will watch this episode, but what I might do is actually wear it out. And when I come and see you guys, well, I'll bung it on my back like "Where's Wally?" It'll be fantastic. But
you'll take Laura's throne as Alex the Explorer. Laura the Explorer is no longer.
Yes, it could be. Oh, I don't know. A working title: Grundon's London. It could be fantastic.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, if I thought about this. So yeah, I'm really chuffed about that. I'm putting all the pictures and stuff on my Instagram. Speaking of Instagrams, don't forget you can follow us all. I'm Alex Grundon. There's Siddy Holloway. There's Chris Nix. And then there's Hidden London Laura, and also at LT Museum. If you've got any questions about transport in London, the Underground, secrets of London, drop into our DMs, send us a question, and we will get them answered for you in a subsequent episode of the Hangouts. Also on YouTube, you're watching this Hangout on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment below. And on Saturdays at 6 o'clock, join us for the live chat that goes along with these episodes, because this is how we are getting to know you and you're getting to know us. Okay, it's a very intimate learning experience, okay, during lockdown. Nobody wants this, but we are actually really enjoying producing these programs for you, and I hope that you're enjoying them. Siddy, thank you so much for stepping into the breach and being so brilliant with your Siddy slideshow return.
Thank you so much. It was fun to reprise the role again. It's always, I don't know, I love showing you guys some of the gems that we have in our collection, as well as, you know, just so fun to relive those experiences when we're all cooped up in the house.
It's fantastic. And Laura, the Explorer, thank you so much, as always.
Oh, do you know what? It's been a good one. It's such a shame not to have Chris here, because we are a little bit of a little four menacing kind of like team. But it was so important for us to do Kingsway and make sure that kind of, you know, we had a hangout this week. I mean, what a brilliant one. We've got regeneration, we've got reconstruction, storage, modernisation, all in this cool, boxy, amazing, undercover connecting tunnel. And I just, I hope for everyone out there, they can get a feel of what it's like in there, because I mean, Siddy's pictures this week were phenomenal, and I hope you enjoyed the videos of us kind of goofing around in there as well. And Alex, you've got to be on the next site visit when we're out of lockdown. It's been too long. You need to stop sunning yourself in Portugal and Greece and get under these tunnels with us again, and stop getting tanned and come get dusty with us. You've
persuaded me. The sort of footage that you're gathering, absolutely, I want to be there. And just to be very, very clear about this, because Chris can't join us, we did wonder about, you know, passing this week and not doing it, but we know that this is making a big difference to you getting through lockdown, and secretly it's making a big difference to us getting through lockdown as well. So the show has to go on. Chris, come back next week. We're really looking forward to having you back. In the meantime, have yourself a great day and stay safe.